Welcome back to the round 13 SuperCoach review with me, JD. You are joining me after what has been the worst bye week for many, and a pretty interesting week in terms of the carnage we got as well. A lot of the popular trade options didn't fire. A lot of the popular rookies went down. So this last week, I think a lot of us thought it was going to be very easy. We're going to be set up quite well for it. And I think we've actually got a few challenges our way. So we'll go through some of the options there, what you should be trying to achieve from a trading philosophy type of perspective. And I think this week, I might go through the games as well, just because we did have a few interesting options or things to consider kind of pop out. So if I get a chance, I'll go through that. My week was bad, but okay. So I only fielded 17. I guess I'll go into it. I only fielded 17, so to actually move up in ranks despite having poorly fielded my team is pretty good, I guess. And I think, is this zoomed in from with George? Yeah. All right, because usually you can see the whole team. All right, there we go. So yeah, I've already changed it so it's optimized for this buy round. But yeah, I had Machida Owens, traded him in a couple of weeks ago, thought I was going to get him last week and this week, and obviously with the concussion, I'm not going to get him this week, and he scored pretty poorly with the 26, so that's disappointing. Durden, who I held through his buy, was obviously not good, and he's losing money now, which is pretty frustrating. Hamilton, who I thought I was going to have, is not in favour with Spike, and players were pretty good, so I don't see Hamilton coming in and displacing him this last week, especially them coming off a nice win against the Hawks. Stevens could get dropped, and I don't know, Clark probably won't get dropped, but I guess that's always consideration as well. So this is pretty, and Hayes obviously isn't coming back. So even though I thought this is going to be pretty good for me, this week, that's not the case. But yeah, my trades last week, so I traded in Judson Clark. I would have traded in Ware, which would have netted me more points, and obviously the cash gen as well. The problem was we just didn't know before Clark played whether or not Ware was going to be in the side. Couldn't take the risk that he was a sub or not playing or anything like that, given I was already down players. So had to risk it with Clark, which, worked out all right. I mean, the 63 is nothing to laugh at, and I think he probably should hold his spot for another, or at least this week for sure, and then maybe a couple more after that, which is all right, given that I don't really have great bench cover in the forward line at the moment. Durden needs to go, although, I don't know, so little money on his head now. I also traded in Doherty, which worked pretty well. I mean, Sinclair I traded in the week before his buy, so he's had 2 big scores for me. And he looked really good again. What was it? So a 140 and a 118 I've got off Sinclair, and Doherty, I brought him in for his 139. I didn't have the captain on him. I'll go through that in a second. But defense held up pretty well this week. Chris was good. Definitely stood out in a pretty inspirational win for the Pies over the Dees today. So he was probably their best on, apart from Cox and maybe Dacos. I mean, those that held Dacos been kissed on it a little bit, because he's been crazy good the last couple of weeks, and could have easily gone the other way where he's bleeding cash, given the reports that he needed a rest. But that floating halfback role has been really good, just racking up points. So, but yeah, regardless, so Crisp, Sinclair, Doherty, all great. Short, this midfield role is a little bit concerning. He just doesn't score as well there as he does in the back half. I think, in games where they've got easy kills, it probably won't be too bad. But this week they've got Carlton. I think, look, you can see here they're ranked number 1 against midfielders, which means they are the hardest of any. So, it partly explains why Merritt played poorly, for example, or scored poorly. But yeah, he's not going to score well this week, and I'm a little bit worried about this role. And then Hewitt was good again. I think this is his first sub-ton for the year, the 97, but nothing to worry about there. He's been nothing but class for us. So, yep, happy with Hewitt. And then, against the Tigers this week should score well. Dawson, McCartan, both off buys. I would have traded McCartan last week, but I just, with the way the money worked out, I could have held him. So I did, and then I'll make the choice of whether I need to move him on for cash this week or not now, or if I just want to field him. They've got Port this week, which I think is a pretty good matchup. It actually says that defenders don't score that well against Port, but we'll see. Midfield, so Cripps, this is kind of surprising, because a lot of people at quarter time were like, he's fake, needs to be traded out, and then the next 3 quarters he really blew up and took off in terms of scoring. I'm still a little bit worried about him. Uh, but I think I've got bigger problems. Like I traded in Merritt, who I think is going to be a bigger problem. So anyway, yep. So Merritt, there's not a lot to take out of this game. I think like obviously he didn't live up to expectations. This is his worst score for the year as well. But Carlton are the hardest midfield to score against. So I don't know. I think like it's okay enough. Saints this week are a little bit easier. You can see 7, which means they're the 7th hardest. And with Steele out of the side, that probably makes it a little bit better. And the week after they've got West Coast, and then the Swans after that. And he's got Merritt's got really good history against the Swans. So yeah, like I think this is going to be okay. But Merritt was the other premium I traded in alongside Doherty last week. So Clark, Merritt, and Doherty were the trade-ins, and yeah, Merritt didn't fire. But I think like if you thought about like the other popular trade-ins last week, so you had Parrish that got that calf cork and scored poorly. So Merritt outdid that. You had Walsh, who I think he might have scored like 1 point more than him or something. What did Walsh score? Oh no, he scored less. He scored a 75. Wow. Okay, so he outscored Walsh by 15 points and was a lot cheaper. And then the only other one that people were looking at off the buy was Josh Kelly, who Kelly did outscore him, right? Like a 110 or something, 111. But obviously he was much higher price. You're paying 100k more. So look, I think this is okay given how the other picks worked out. Yeah, Owen's disappointing and looks sad that he's got the concussion as well, so he'll miss this week. I probably just shouldn't have him there because it like tricks you into thinking you've got to play him more than you do. Not even sure about these two. Oliver was my captain last week, so I think we talked about on the pod. I don't know if I mentioned it on my weekly video, but we definitely talked about on the pod and then also at the back end of the week that the obvious vice captain captaincy choice last week was Neil into Oliver. I was a little bit fortunate that I went Darcy into Oliver because I would have been very tempted to take a 123. 91's no-go zone. So I got the captaincy for Oliver, the 141, which was, I think, was it my best score for my team, so apart from Cogs, obviously. So yeah, like really, really happy. Look, beat out the Josh Kelly captaincy, which a lot of people had. Beat out the Gorn captaincy, which is a bit of a disaster this week. And for those that played it conservative and took Neil's 123, which is a great keep, got an 18-point advantage, which was nice. Neil was very good again. Not much more to say there. And then Petrarca was like, it was a weird game because I think he scored really poorly in fantasy, but then all right in SuperCoach. Yeah, a little bit worried about him. Oh my God, look at this. This is crazy. He's a 487. He lost 36k this week. So for those that need a midfield upgrade post buys, you could definitely look at him as a like really cheap. Like he's ridiculously good value. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so consider post buy. I think Melbourne will bounce back, by the way. I don't think there's any concerns there. In the rucks, so yeah, Darcy, like this 91 was pretty bad, but given that I didn't have Gorn, who, what did he score in the end? 70? Like, I'm okay with that. There's no problems there. What's Gorn's break even now? 84. That's right, because the huge score, it's kind of reset it enough. Yeah, the 198 the week before, which was a killer for me. Yeah, so he had an ankle issue, is what they said, and looked sore and proppy, and then Cox and Cameron were able to get on top. I wouldn't trade him or anything like that for those that were thinking about it, which hopefully won't be many of you, but like he'll rest up and be fine after the buy. It's like he's just a keep. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about there. All right, and then in the forward line, so Cogs was great. Like we're going to talk about the GWS game. It's one that I want to go through because there's a lot of players. We've had 3 games under the new coach, including where they've had like a bye break, where they would have had a chance to reassess things and make changes. So I think we've got a pretty good indicator of what these new roles look like going forward. And you can jump on, like if you need to upgrade to the forward line this week and you're looking at Cogs, I think you can jump on him even at 500k and be okay with it. That role looks pretty good. Break even's low. The matchup against the Dogs isn't great, but I think the week after they've got another nice one. Oh no, it's Collingwood, wasn't that great. But yeah, like Cogs I think's like a okay option now. He's still going to be streaky up and down, and I'm not sure GWS is going to stay up at this level of performance across the rest of the year. I mean, you've got to, even though he's got a 3-round average of what, it's going to be something nuts, so right? 133, like 2 of those games, the 2 that he scored well in were North and West Coast. So there is a pinch of salt with the GWS stuff, but I mean, yeah, obviously I think you can get back on Cogs. Butters was another one that had like a poor DT game, but a good SuperCoach game. I think like Petrarca actually is an all right fantasy player. So Butters is definitely more suited to the SuperCoach format. He got like a head knock in the last 10 minutes, which is obviously like a lot of focus on that and the whether or not they should have been concussion tests and all that type of stuff. But I think the big thing is like he still had time off ground, getting patched up with the nose and all that at the end of the game. So he was on track for 100 and didn't quite get there. He's not someone that I would love to keep. Like he's a luxury upgrade, I think, for a lot of people. And if you don't have him, you wouldn't be sweating about not owning him. But I think he's also okay to hold. Durden, this is really disappointing. I kind of knew that his scoring was going to drop back off with like Martin and stuff back in the side. But yeah, this is like, that's terrible. To hold him and get a 23 out of him when like every point counts, just awful. It's just so bad. Clark was good. We already mentioned him. And then Degoe, I got to trade him this week. What a disaster of a pick he's been. His CBAs are right up there, but yeah, unfortunately, he's not actually playing as an on-ball midfielder. The CBAs are deceiving for him and him alone. So, someone that I can't really, I got to get out of him. And this is a perfectly good week with the buys here. I've got a few ideas about what I'm going to do, but maybe we'll just quickly go through a couple of the games and then come back to it. So, all right. Is it going to show? This is like awkward. All right, there we go. That works. So Baker was really good in this game. There are actually like lots of this was a fun game to watch, and there were tons of players that actually did really well. I think like Nankervis was a disappointing one given Port didn't have rucks, and that's probably like and Wines, who was another like somewhat talked about trade and option, didn't perform that well either. Like one more reason why the merit pick's okay. Okay, so the thing that I think is worth talking about this game more than anything else is the Port ruck situation with Sam Hayes, who didn't played in the seconds, and obviously Port drafted Teakle, the 102k ruck forward, in the mid-season draft as well. I think Teakle outperformed him in the twos. He kicked 3 goals. Like Hayes rucked all right from the stats that I saw, but the other quote was Hinkley saying that they were happy with how the Finlayson and Dixon combo worked. So it doesn't sound like they're recalling Hayes this week, and I think you can probably just trade him to Teakle and free up that cash. That's probably the big call out. We've talked about Short already. We've talked about Butters. We talked about Wines. I wouldn't bring him in. Wouldn't bring in Boak. Wouldn't touch Nankervis. I think the other rucks have got a great. Yeah, all right, that's it. So Essendon, Carlton. Sad game. So Doherty, great trade-in option. Cripps kind of touched on already. Hewitt we've touched on already. I still think like Hewitt's probably going to be the number one mid. Walsh I think comes good, by the way. Like I think that's okay. Marchbank was disappointing for those that brought him in. You just got to hope that the job security holds up. He was on track for a decent game, just didn't touch it in the second half and gave away 3 frees, which is 3 clangers. It's a lot of points and loses just off that. On the Essendon side, like Hobbs is really good. This is like super unfortunate I don't have him as a rookie, because what he had, I think his second game was like a 30 something, and then his third game was 13, and the role was awful, and you just kind of couldn't bring him in unless you went early on him the first week, which a lot of people did, and then he's come really good and been an awesome rookie through the buys. He's made a fair bit of cash now as well, but giving you like hella on-field points. But us that waited patiently had to go away from and missed out pretty badly as a result. Parrish is a wait and see. I know people will be asking, do I trade him this week? I guess we'll just see if he gets up or not, like how bad that calf is. Apparently, it's just a corky. Because like the thing is, right, so Essendon plays St Kilda this week, and if he misses this week, that's pretty bad, but like you've got other players that you're missing on bye as well. So you're still weighing up, do I trade Parrish or one of my other players on bye if you were in that situation? And then the week after, they play West Coast, and you'd love to have him versus West Coast. So as long as it's likely that he returns the week after, I think you hold him. But you are like in a position where you have to hold him for the rest of the year because he's already dropping money. He's going to have a high break even. He's going to drop more money, but you just hold him for the rest of the year. I think that's probably the right play with Parrish, as long as it's just a corky and there's nothing else going on. Ridley was alright for anyone that still has him. Heppel was not good in a real football sense. I'm surprised his SuperCoach is so high. I don't think there's anyone else talking about like, oh, Nick Martin. Where's he at in terms of break even and money? Because he did have a good game after I traded him out. Oh, wait, let me select him. SuperCoach going slow. Everyone's logging on. Break even 53, which is all right. Where's he at? 366k. I mean, yeah. If you held him this long, you probably just want to keep holding him. Freo Hawks, another good game. There were actually lots of good games this weekend. Mixed with a couple of bad ones. Like Essendon Carlton obviously wasn't very watchable, and North Giants wasn't very watchable, but a lot of the other ones were quite fun to watch. So Freo like racked up points in this game. Brayshaw I thought was really, really good. I felt like he was a little bit underscored actually for anyone that has him. And look, he's still a post-buy option at 550k. This is pretty good value, but I think you're going to get better value out of Petrarca, who should score similar, you'd think, on the run home. And Freo's fixture is harder for the back half of the year. So, look, he's on bye this week, so you wouldn't. Both of them are on bye this week, so you wouldn't consider it anyway. But I'd probably still have Petrarca ahead of him, even though I really like Brayshaw. Ryan's been an interesting one. It was a bit of a failed pick through the start of the year, but has come good the last 3 weeks. Got an average 3-round average of 115, 5-round average of 105. He's on the cheaper end, but once again, he's on bye this week, and most people aren't looking for players on bye this week. What else? Oh, Akers getting the hammy was sad. Oh, the big storyline on Freo was obviously Fife returning and the impact on Brody. Brody had a down game, scoring 82, which is still a respectable score by all accounts. It's a tricky situation though, because if you wanted to trade Brody, this buy is the perfect time to do it. But so there's a couple of things that make me say but and hesitate. I'm obviously not in that situation, so I don't have as much skin in the game as you mob that actually successfully picked him do. But so a couple of things to think of. The reason why I would have been keen to trade him is with Bontempelli and Baslenka as top six forwards, like penciled in for top six forwards, trading Brody to one of them on their bye once Fife's returned and like made him score worse made a lot of sense to me. And this is like the problem I have in fantasy. So I guess I do have some skin in the game. Like I am weighing up Brody decisions myself, but he doesn't score as well in that format as this one. So it's a little bit trickier. Oh, sorry, it's a little bit easier for me, a little bit harder for SuperCoach. So looking at the stats in terms of CBA's mid-time, he still led CBAs and still had 100% mid-time for Freo. So the question becomes like, if he's still getting the same opportunity, does that mean he's going to score as well going forward? Or even with that good role, his Fife still going to negatively affect his SuperCoach points? And by that, I mean, just because he's getting all the CBA still and getting all the mid-time, so he's getting the opportunity, doesn't mean he's going to win as many balls with Fife in there, or they're going to use him as much when they've got others like Fife in there. And so that's, I think, the interesting question here. Like, even if he's in there the same opportunity as before, does the scoring still weigh up the same? And the answer is, like, potentially. This could just be a down game. They've just got to figure those things out, and Brody will keep going. The other thing is, like, obviously, Baslenka had the cocaine issues amongst the headbutting suspension, so he seems like he's going to be out at least 4 weeks post his bye. So he's not in consideration anytime soon. And by the way, like a lot of weird commentary on that this weekend. There was like I don't know, if you're not on Twitter, that's probably best for your health. But so the first was saying like, oh, like he was using mental health as an excuse in his statement. I didn't feel like that was the case at all. I think he was just like explaining, we lost the grand final. I didn't handle it well. I was like suffering poor mental health. I went and did this bad thing. And that's kind of the story of events, which to me makes sense that you would tell that full story. And because if you don't say that, you just said like, oh, it happened during the off season or whatever, then like there's rumors and stuff that comes in, like you don't get to control your narrative and that story. And like, they're like, oh, he was using mental health as an excuse for the drug use. I didn't see that whatsoever. I think he was saying like mental health is important. And like I handled it badly. This should be like held up as an example of what not to do when you're struggling and under pressure and things are going bad. Like it's not good. I didn't see him as like using it as an excuse to try and weasel out of it. I saw someone that took accountability, said that he did it, like apologized and said like, yeah, like I stuffed up. I didn't handle the situation well. But so like it was weird that he was getting attacked for that. Not that what he did was good. It's just like the criticism was weird. I thought his statement and way handled afterwards was like reasonable. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the outside on that. And then the other one was like comparing him getting 2 weeks to like Stevenson, Jaden Stevenson getting was it half a year off for betting on the game? But like, so cocaine use is bad and a more severe problem in the real world, right? And I can see why, like, it's like weird that players don't get investigated after they admit to drug use. But anyway, but like Stevenson was betting on a game that he plays, which brings in like integrity issues for the sport itself. So even though the like one act is worse than the other in a real world sense, in an AFL sense, which is what they control the bans and rules over, the gambling on the game that you play in that you can match fix for is significantly worse than recreational like drug use. Not that I recommend you do either of those things ever, but anyway, like, sorry, this is a like strange digression in a game that he didn't play in, but I don't even know how we got here now. But yeah, those are just cut like my like observations on some weird stuff on the weekend. Oh, that's right, Will Brodie. So Baslenka obviously isn't going to be a top 6 forward at least anytime soon, and the other option was Bontempelli, but we heard a lot of talk about him holding his shoulder and that, you know, not being in the best spot as well. So it gives you less confidence trading Brodie to Bontempelli this week. And if it was a move you were looking at, I'd be keeping my eye and ear out for the news to see what's going on, because the implication was that Bontempelli had been carrying that shoulder injury since the start of the year. So I think there's like two sides to this. Like, one, it's not good that he's been playing injured all year, and but secondly, like maybe the week off helps him get back to a place where it's not encumbering him as much. And I guess the other thing is like he'd been scoring well even with that problem. So like I don't know if it's big of an issue. Obviously, like trading in players that are already injured just brings in a lot of risk. But yeah, if you already had Bontempelli and you had Brodie as well, unless you're going to maybe like Luke Parker or someone like that coming off the bye, or English, you don't have English. Those I think are all like reasonable options. But yeah, if you already got those, then like I can see people holding Brodie. That seems fine. And like Sicily continues to kill me. Like very good again. It's hard to watch because I love Sicily as a player a lot. I think he's very good. As much as like I troll some of the Hawks boys in the Discord, but when he's not on your team and he's like just makes intercept marking look so easily, it hurts. It hurts. Yeah, but he looks good. And then Mitchell, like he's fake when it comes to SuperCoach scoring. I think he's played well, but it's not translating into points like it has in previous years. So yeah, he's someone you can move on from. Brisbane, St Kilda. Oh, this is actually a pretty good game too until the Lions took over this one late. Berry, this is like another one of those frustrating ones for this year because obviously started him as a mid-pricer, was someone that could like average in the 90s, and he was pretty poor. Like, I don't know, we must have traded him around here, like around his 43 in round 9, and then like 82, 127, 80, 116. Like, why wasn't this happening in my team? Damn it. And like perfect buy that you could have held him through the buys and then traded him now, and it just would have been stellar, but unfortunately not to be. He faked us out with a bad score, a bit like Dacos did, and then like has been very good since. Coleman showed why he was like a big preseason watch for a lot of us, and unfortunately we couldn't start him. Rayner, who like I badmouthed a lot, I've really enjoyed how he's been playing the last couple of rounds. They are not using him as that like high possession on baller. They're using him as a more like power forward, can come up for bits, but actually is like uses his strength and explosiveness. He's looking much better than he was at the start of the year. So he's saving what I thought was like a career in jeopardy at one point. All right, drink break. The lemons on the trees are going ham at the moment. So lemon water on everything at the moment, which is, I don't know, probably helping me stay healthier than the kids at the moment. All right. Zorko. All right. So I traded Zorko to English when I shouldn't have, because it was like a really bad trade, and George convinced me to do it. Because man, I only had 17 on field this week rather than 18. So I've just missed out on all these Zorko points. He should have gone 100 this game, but obviously got brought down with the hammy and was out injured. So the fact that I'd already traded him to English somewhat saves the fact that it was a terrible move in the first place, and it's just dumb luck. It's another one of those things this year where trades that you make that logically should have played out have backfired, and then you do dumb stuff and sometimes you get rewarded for it. I guess it's just part of the game, but yeah. Brad Crouch, interestingly enough, continued on, like not getting much fanfare, but he has been good and he actually looks all right in these games as well, and like taking over a steal. I don't know if I could like advocate bringing him in, but that's the one that like, I think, did I bring it up on the podcast? Something I got laughed at, but yeah, he's continued to be good. So if you got on him, then great. And then Sinclair continues to look good. I don't think he's going to kill you not having him, but he's very nice to own. I've enjoyed a 140 and a 118 return off him. So if he's on your trading list, I'd definitely be looking at him. Picking between him and Doherty would probably be a hard one, but I'd probably lean Sinclair without checking the prices on the two of them. And I'd probably have both of them over Dawson, which is tough because that's the other one coming off the bye this week people might be looking at. Windhager was all right. He probably keeps his spot with Owens definitely going out. I don't know. That's tricky because they got Clark and potentially Billings that could come back. And given they're just lost, like you might see some changes. And then Wilkie was one that people were looking at that had scored well the last couple of weeks. Sorry, he's behind my head. There he is. But just the 59 this week. So yeah, stay away from now. Now the big one in North and GWS, big in terms of SuperCoach. Scores for GWS, like not big in terms of game output or crowd size or anything like that. So Hall was back and was just okay. I mean, even his scoring's bad and it just lived in their defensive half. So Hall's probably not an option post-bye, but keep an eye out. I mean, he must be dropping in cash too because he got subbed out on a pretty low score from memory. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention it, but Zorko, like, trade him. He's a must trade. So that's if you've got him for whatever reason, like me, then must trade. So Zorko, so Hall's only got a 122 break even. That's not as bad as what I thought it would be. It's not even gonna be that cheap for a big risk. So probably avoid Hall. No one else on the north side's pretty much relevant apart from some of the rookies that people may have picked up, like Perez. Curtis as well. Like they actually scored. Perez didn't. Curtis scored all right. Then Horn Francis. I mean, if you still have him, that's a must trade because not only is he on bye, but he's missing weeks, and I'm sure he's going to go backwards in cash generation. Where for those that traded him were good. The other big news from GWS is Bruce didn't play, which is a really interesting one because I saw a couple of people on I think it was Twitter or like Discord was one of the two that was saying like, what else could Bruce have done? Like what area? I think it was Discord actually. It was one of the guys. So he was saying like, what area of the game is Flynn better than Bruce at, or has played better than Bruce at this year? And it's like hard to argue with that really. Like Flynn, I enjoy, but he got smashed in the ruck this game, and I think Bruce is every bit as good around the ground as Flynn has been. So, and like, you know, he crashes packs, he throws his weight around, all that good stuff that you like to see. He's just not durable. So after the game though, we had McVeigh, I think it was McVeigh, come out, one of the coaches, basically said that he really got knocked around that illness, and it sounded like he may still not have been 100%, which is why he got left out. So I think there's actually a chance they bring back Bruce next week. I don't know if they're going to play 2 ruck or not, but yep, it's good. I think he comes back. Kelly was the really unfortunate one for this game. A lot of people traded him in. Got tagged by Turner, which I wouldn't have been a tag I would have thought to be effective, but actually did all right this game, holding Kelly to a 111. How many 100s did they get here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. And look, Riccardi only just missed out. So apologies, throat's going a bit. So there's probably 4 players worth talking about post changes to the coaching staff. So let's start down here with Peatling at 92. He is a 371k defender who's now got a 3-round average of 107, which is good points. If you're looking for a really discount option in defense, as a keeper, I guess like this is probably going to be the best you'll find sub 400. He's now playing more like a wing half forward role, and he's kicked, I think, 9 goals in the last 3 games. To me, that's a little bit sketchy because, as we've talked about, they've played North and West Coast. I'm not sure that keeps up against better competition unless West Coast GWS really fly, but it is probably the risk at that price point that you could look at. One I would personally avoid though. Secondly, let's talk about Whitfield, who is someone that I would have kept had he came in and played West Coast, which is a little bit unfortunate now because his role is definitely looking better this week. He racked it up at the back end of the game, and I think he had a negative ratio, but looked a lot better and playing in a position more favorable to his scoring. If you could get up to this range, I would prefer Whitfield over Peatling every day of the week. The tricky thing is, obviously, Western Bulldogs are one of the harder teams to score against. So this week's a pretty big challenge. His break-even's 86, so I guess you could always wait a week on Whitfield and just see what happens. But this is another discount defender option that I like. GWS's run home isn't too bad for the most part. They don't have North or West Coast anymore, which is a bit of a shame. And they do have like Brisbane, Carlton, Freo. Maybe this run isn't that good. At this price is pretty hard to beat. And if I needed a discount defender, I think it's hard to go past Whitfield at this price. But yeah, I just wouldn't expect the best score this week against Western Bulldogs. Clearly having the time off and letting the ankle heal a bit has helped. You just worry about whether or not that might pop back up again. All right, and then Cogs. So we talked about Cogs already, but yes, this midfield role looks like it's going to keep. Spike McVeigh said that like his philosophy is basically like playing the best players in their best positions. So that should mean Cogs midfield, Kelly midfield, and Whitfield in like wing, half forward, half back type roles, rather than like him like actually playing small forward or like real deep half forward. So I think that's positive for all of them. And then the last one is Harry Himmelberg. So marked forward here, but the last 3 weeks he's played as I don't know if it's necessarily loose, but yeah, but it definitely has gotten loose at times, but as a key defender. So his 3-round average is 131, obviously propped up by the massive 187 he had on the weekend, but he also had a 126, and pleasingly that was against the Lions, not against West Coast. West Coast, he only scored an 80, but to be honest, not surprising given that the ball is just never really in your defensive half if you're playing West Coast. So his break-even is negative 61 and he's 435k. He went up 85k this week. That is insane. Oh my God. So as far as discount forwards go, this is probably the pick of the bunch. I think he has to stay in this role. He's looked really, really good in it. He's obviously enjoying it. He said he's PB for disposals in this game on the weekend. One that you would have to look at as a discount option for sure. And I guess at some point he probably gets around 18. He probably gets forward/defender status if he plays defense every game from here. I don't know. I'd have to do the calcs on that. Assuming he's getting 100% defender, probably might be close. Not that it will matter for a lot of people, but yeah, this is a really interesting one. And then Collingwood, Melbourne, we talked about Gawn already. Chris, we talked about. Degoe, we talked about. So, yep. And Cameron, I think Cameron's fine to hold. And I'd probably prefer to hold him over Brody at the moment. It's a bit tricky, though, because Brody could potentially hold to the end of the year. Cameron, I'm not sure you can hold once Grundy returns. And then Dacos is a little bit of a tricky position for those that have held, because now on 2 back-to-back scores, that really good scores, I'm sure he's got a negative or close to negative break even. Yep, 8. So he's got more money to make over the next couple of weeks, probably another 50k once he's back after his bye, something like that. We'll get close to 450, but it just means you hold him on your bye this week. So it's kind of up to you if you want to hold him, and you've got the trades to hold him past his bye and then use his money later, or if you just want to access it now and get a player in. I think both those options are good, kind of team dependent there. Brayshaw had another good game. Salem is an interesting option, actually. It's a little bit tricky because he's obviously still got his buy to go, but he should be real cheap. He lost 47k. He's 467, which is pretty good discount. If you wanted to wait a week on Whitfield, you could wait and then compare him and Salem the week after. I don't know. Salem's never been like proper primo in Supercoach, so it's a bit hard to recommend. The rookie Turner was unfortunately got subbed out. So I think that'll be the last to see of him. Anyone else worth mentioning? Nope. No. Okay. So my trades then, which I don't know what they are. This is the one I actually going to have to play with this week because I've done no planning on trades. But Hayes' money just sitting here doesn't seem to make any sense. Like, let's open this up and go Teakle. And actually, what's pretty nice here is I can play English in the rucks now, even if Teakle doesn't play, and like potentially get an extra player on field through that. So let's do that one to start with. So like it's not going to work out that I do, but anyway, yeah. So that's fine. I'll leave it like this as well, just in case Teakle does play for any reason. But I don't think Teakle or Hamilton play, which is unfortunate. So actually, I should talk about philosophy before I go into my trades. So a couple of things here. One, you want to make sure you finish your team. So 22 primos. That's goal one. And if you count mine, like we can kind of ignore the trade, but like defenders, so I've got Sinclair, Hewitt, Dawson, Doherty, Short, Crisp. That's 6 premiums. I think in a ideally, I would have Stewart and Sicily. So I don't know, like Stewart obviously has a fair bit of money to make to lose. Sorry, after his 39, and once this 174 rolls out, it's just not going to be for a few weeks. Like you can see, it's not until like round 16 or something, round 15, round 16, he gets cheap. And what have they got him going down to? Only 566. Really not getting that cheap. But I don't know, if I'm in a good position, then I could see myself maybe sidewaysing like a Short or a Dawson or someone like that. Otherwise, it's Sicily. I'm not getting King Sicily this year, unfortunately. I'll be sitting on the sidelines waiting all year. Won't be picking him up. Just can't do it. Not because I don't want to, just don't have the trades and the money. So, so defenders done. Midfield, so McRae, Miller, Cripps, Merritt, that's 4. And then Oliver, Neil, Petrakis, I got 7. I need an 8th midfielder this week, so that's priority 1 for me. Get that 8th midfielder. For me, it's going to be Laird, but I like Mills as an option as well. I think they're both very solid picks. Laird's just got a super easy fixture on the way home, so we'll back that in. And then Rucks, I've got Witts and Darcy, so I'm good there. And then in the forwards, I've got Parker sitting here, 1, English 2, Dunkley 3, Cogs 4, Butters 5, Degoe 6. So priority 1, upgrade my last midfielder. Secondly, upgrade or sideways any of those bad premiums I've got. Now, Short isn't that bad. In the midfield, Merritt, we'll wait another week or two. Crepes will wait another week or two, get some data points on these. Plus, they don't have their buys. That leaves, in the forward line, Butters and Degoe. Degoe is much worse than Butters at the moment, and he's on his buy. So I think this is a pretty easy trade out for me. So try and get a better forward option here. And then the last thing I want to do is obviously get... why can't I speak? Laird in the midfield. I'm not actually sure I'm going to do that because I need money. But so this is one thing I could do. Then I still need to get a forward upgrade here, which is unfortunate because it would have been Baslenka, who I was forced to trade out last week, or Bontempelli. I actually don't have the money for it. That's just so bad. Oh, jeez. Oh, it's so bad. Who are the rookies this week? So Teakles for Hayes is one. We can talk about, is it Cully? Yeah, Jai Cully, who was the number 1 pick in the mid-season draft. He might come in this week, mid-forward DPP. So if you go someone like Himmelberg, who we talked about, can I actually get to him? We're from McCartan. He's just going to be too much, isn't he? I mean, this is assuming I could do it with DPP, which I can't even do it. But anyway, no, he's a forward. Did I not spell his name right? Or it's just not showing me because I need to select a defender to trade him in. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm sure. The 415 Himmelberg was like 435, right? Yeah. That's bad. It's like really bad. Because if you don't get Himmelberg this week, you just never get him. What's Bontempelli at? Because I think what I could do is set myself up to get Bontempelli next week. He's got a 132 break even, which means he might go down a little bit on this 583. So yeah, Jai Cully, forward option. The other one for Essendon was DM Brosio. He went over, I think, 100 fantasy in the weekend, was like best on for us. So he's one that could debut this week. And there's a really another obvious one. Oh, Hollins, who's been hyped for a long time, but he might finally get his debut for the Gold Coast Suns. He's been knocking down the door for a little bit, so he's the other one that could come in. So do I get out of Durden this week? I might. McCartan's break even's good, right? 47, yeah. So what I might do this week is, I'm not sure yet, but I might get out of Durden because his break even won't be any good. It's a 90. Yikes. So if someone like Cully or Hollins comes in, I'll trade out of Durden. That puts me down to 6 trades, and then next week I'm going to need to go 1 down, 1 up, and get Bontempelli, and it'll take me down to 4, which is like really low. I won't be doing any like luxury upgrades from here to the end of the year then. But I think that's going to be the trades, and that'll be the team. Only other thing this week is captain, vice captain, which I haven't really looked at. So we'll like first thing we do is like look for West Coast and North. So Cats play West Coast this week. There's no good Cats options. North are on bye, so those two are out. Next easiest is probably Essendon, but like so that's St Kilda playing them, but we obviously don't have Steele. Not sure if I trust Sinclair enough to put him as an option. Richmond have traditionally given up points, or at least been like somewhat friendly. So you could look at some of the Blues. Otherwise, you've got Adelaide who give up a fair few points. So maybe someone like Took Miller as the captain. Just a little bit hard to trust him because he has been up and down, but he's someone you could look at. I don't think English is an option this week. I don't think Wits is an option this week. So who's the vice captaincy going to? I don't think it's Dogs. Dogs GWS. I don't really like any of them in that matchup. Well, this is actually quite tough this week. I'm gonna have to think about this and get back to you. Is there an obvious option of players like I don't own? I don't even think so. Oh, Mills against Port would be good if you had Mills. Yeah, I don't mind that. Otherwise, that's probably not Doherty. It's probably Cripps. He's pretty good against Richmond from memory. Oh, it's interesting. They have like his history against him, but they don't include his 132 at the start of the year. I have to have a think about that because even like Laird against Gold Coast wouldn't be too bad. Gold Coast have been like all right at giving up points to mids. All right, we'll have to think on that. But anyway, that's the team for this week. That's kind of the update. Hope it's been useful. Let me know what you're weighing up. But yeah, like priorities are obviously, I should have started with like get 18 on field. So make sure you got at least 18 playing. Ideally, I think 20 is a good number to have, especially this week because teams will be getting up to 22. Like I've still got 1 trade to go. And where am I at? I'm at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So I've got 21. My team's not good. Maybe I'm down to 20 or 19. But yeah, like lots will be in pretty good positions. So yeah, get up to 20. finish your team, which I haven't done yet, but I will do. I'll plan to do that next week. So if you're not finishing your team this week, make sure you're finishing it next week for coming out of the buys. You don't want to have any rookies on field because everyone else is going to be having full primos and you're just losing 50, 60 points a week at that point. And then finally, if you've got lots of spare trades, you can look at then upgrading those weaker positions on your field. So like your F6, your M8, those types of positions. Making sure you're getting in like your English and Bonts in the forward line or your super uber primos in the midfields or a Stewart or someone like that in the back line. I'm not going to be in the position where I'm going to be able to do that. I think I'll just have to get to 4 trades left and then go from there. But it is what it is. Anyway, thanks for joining me as always. Let me know what you're weighing up if you need help on anything or just, how your season's traveling. Hopefully you've done well through the buys. Better than me, but I'll see you in the next one. Peace.